Welcome to Bharata First. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content so that it reaches to more and more people. Today, in this episode, we have Poonam Dalal Dahiya ma'am with us. Ma'am currently serving as ASP, Haryana Police. Apart from this, she has also served as Indian Revenue Service Officer. And apart from these two, she has also authored a lot of number of books and which are basically based on history, and the current one being the modern India, which we'll be discussing today. And without any further ado, I'd like to ask my first question, which is not related to book. So it is more related to your UPSC journey, ma'am. So tell us about your UPSC journey, because it is different from what many UPSC aspirants go through. So, ma'am, please.
Right. Namaste, first of all, to all of you who are listening to this show. And thank you so much for the kind introduction. As rightly told by you, my UPSC journey is somewhat different than the other aspirants. And I would say that a lot of takeaways also from my journey. Since I started very early in government service, I think at the age of 20 I got my first government job just immediately after 12th standard. I did this basic teachers training course, and then I had my first job as a primary school teacher in Delhi. And once I completed my graduation. Unlike other students who have the privilege of going to a regular college, I actually did my graduation from Delhi University as an external student, since when you are in a government job, you cannot go for a regular study course, right? So I actually completed my graduation from Delhi University as external student. And then when I cleared my graduation exam, that time that was the right that could have been the right time for me to appear for UPSC and other state services examination. But I was so underconfident that way regarding vis-a-vis UPSC. So I was having the confidence regarding SSC graduate level or bank PO, but UPSC, you always, mostly aspirants, they always treat UPSC as the toughest exam. And so if we are always so underconfident about ourselves. That, and the same happened with me at the age of 22, 23, when your energy is at the peak and you're having all you're full of enthusiasm. That time I never thought that I'll be will able to clear UPSC. And also I sat for bank PO examination. I cleared bank PO examination, all three I cleared. And then I joined State Bank of India as a probationary officer. Now, after working there for 3 years, I gave around the same time I gave SSC graduate level examination also. And I and earlier in those times, like 2008 9, I'm talking about that time, SSC graduate level exam. Even now also, I feel the number of students who appear in SSC graduate level exam all over India are more than UPSC. In fact, so about 40 lakhs people normally appear in SSC graduate level exam. And when I secured seventh rank all over India in that exam, I think that was a turning point. So that time, anyhow, vis-a-vis age-wise, I was losing on one attempt. I belong to general category, so I gave my first attempt. So then I thought, anyhow, I'm losing attempt. So let's try it. There's nothing to lose. So I gave my first UPSC attempt at the age of 28. All along working and all. And at the same time, I also gave state services, Haryana state services, and I cleared both of the exam in my first attempt itself. But I in my first attempt, in UPSC I got railways. Then again in my second, now after first attempt, another takeaway, after first attempt at the age of 28, I got this confidence that yes, it is achievable, which I feel that should have come to me at the age of 23 or 24. And but anyhow, in my second attempt, somehow in my first attempt, the entry score was very good. And another thing which I felt, that in my first attempt, one mistake which I did, which normally aspirants do, and I would ask them, if you are watching it, though, kindly don't repeat it, is that normally the first attempters are specifically targeting the prelims. So it's like generally in your first attempt, all your energies are concentrated on just getting the prelims cleared or qualify the prelims without thinking, we always think that let the pre happen, we'll think about the mains after a certain stage. I think that's a very wrong strategy, and the same strategy which I had. So after prelims, that time there were two optional. 2009, I'm talking about. So I had prepared one optional and GS. But second optional, I started preparation after prelims. That's only the span of 2 to 3 months. So but anyhow, I did clear the mains in my first attempt only. But because of lack of preparation, I could clear it just above the cutoff. So my entry score was very good. Mains was just above the cutoff. Somehow I got into railways. Now so I think that's one thing which I want students not to repeat. So you need to understand that UPSC per se is an exam where score is basically your rank is decided on the basis of mains and interview. So pre is a qualifying thing. That's okay, but please focus simultaneously your energies on mains and interview too. So this thing I learned hard way in my in my first attempt. Now in the second attempt, again another thing. In my second attempt, the main scores were very good. I was among the top 200, 300 students, but at the same time my interview didn't go well, and I again landed up in railways. So now after the second attempt, I was totally, at all my teachers were telling me that we were like, considering the answers you are writing, or the kind of papers, mock papers you are attempting, you will be surely in top 100. And you also get this kind of feeling that yes, I would be. But then suddenly these results come, and then you are again in a shock. And I actually, but at the same time, my third attempt was there where my preparation was just at the peak. Now what happened? I couldn't take that shock very lightly. So another takeaway is that you have to prepare your best, but you also I would say that you please hope for the best but prepare for the worst also, which I didn't did in my case. So in my third attempt, couldn't qualify even the prelims. So it was my final attempt, journal category wise. I couldn't qualify prelims, and because what was the reason? Because I was so much, I was not able to recover from the shock of the second attempt. It's only 20 days difference when your final list comes, and the next year pre, there's hardly a difference of around 20 days. So those 20 days I was so much uh, just crying over my loss in the second attempt that I couldn't study for the third attempt in a proper way, and I just missed the prelims by just a margin. But anyhow, you miss it. Now there's again, now you all of you must be thinking how I'm still sitting here and giving this interview. So as luck would have it, I in the meantime I joined Haryana Police Service as a ACP, and I was like, I thought that I didn't join the railways at all. And in the meantime, I joined the state services. So so there's another twist in the story that once I so after these three attempts, I was happily settled in Haryana State Services as a ACP, and then suddenly, after 5 years, we 2011 candidates were accorded an extra attempt, right? So, irrespective of the age limit. And there's another thing in that attempt. I was 9 months pregnant. So I was 9 months pregnant for this exam, and when I gave my prelims, and my son was born in between, and then I wrote my mains with 2.5. He was just 2.5 months old, and at the same time, last 5 years I've not touched anything. I've not studied anything. The pattern has changed over the years. So and then I just thought that just go along with the flow. And I again at the same time, I would like to tell everybody that in this exam, or be it any exam, the attitude matters. So as I look back, I always feel that confidence and that attitude, that yes, you can do it. I think that makes a lot more difference. So when I was preparing at the age of 22, 23 for bank PU, I was having that confidence that yes, I'll be able to clear it, and I cleared it. SSC graduate level, I had that confidence. Gradually, when but once I approached the UPSC, I was approaching it with a very underconfident kind of way in the initial stages. So at the age of now, in my fourth attempt, I actually could gain that confidence that okay, no matter what, doesn't matter. I'll give this attempt in whatever circumstances. I think one of the most challenging circumstances, I gave this exam. So, and I cleared it and I got 308 rank. And, rest, I think everybody knows. And then after a year or so, I wrote the book, Asian and Medieval India. And, it's Touchwood, it's one of the bestseller in its league by McGraw Hill Publication. And now as I look back this journey, I always feel that, I really want to go back to that 22, 23-year old Poonam. And I just want to tell her that, you could have given this attempt at the age of 23. So after a while, I've written a book. But had somebody told me at the age of 23, that one day you'll write a book for UPSC aspirants, you'll clear it thrice, you'll clear this exam thrice. So I would not have believed it. But I think more importantly, each one of you who is listening, you need to have belief in yourself. I think that's what makes a lot of difference. You need to have that attitude that, just go with the flow, prepare for the best, just, and then also at the same time, don't, take failures in your stride. It's very easy to say, but I feel, yeah, that's the mantra. You have to, go ahead that way.
Yes, ma'am. And it was really an inspiring journey. And though the viewers will be watching it, they will get to learn a lot of takeaways they will be taking with them. And I think two, three things which I think are important are that you should have a confidence in yourself that you'll be able to do, like you had in SSC and PO, then you were able to crack. And that that there is a saying that everything is there in mind. So once we win in mind, then only we can win it in physical state. So that is the thing that is a major thing that I can say after listening to your journey. And apart from that, to use the analogy of cricket, I think UPSC is also something about uncertainty. So we can't be certain about whether we'll be succeeding or not, but the journey itself teaches a lot. So I'll be proceeding with my second question. It is again related to journey only, but this time I'll be talking about your book, which is Modern India, because in civil services, you'll be having very tight schedule, and that too in police services. So how did you manage time, and what was the journey? Please tell us about this.
Yeah, so I think just recently, my just a month ago, the second title came out. It's Modern India, and it's also published by the same publisher, McGraw Hill. Now, when I wrote my first book, I knew that most of my notes were being followed by students, so they only motivated me, and some of the friends and family who motivated me that why don't you, your notes are already being followed. And history is one of, I'm very passionate about history. So my son name is Vikramaditya, so you can understand my passion for that poor fellow. So anyhow, when I wrote Asian and Medieval India, I knew that there's not a book in that league, which can cater to the demands of the students. And also, luckily, I'm having that kind of advantage that I have appeared myself for the exam, so I know what is missing is in what book and what exactly is required for this exam. So when I wrote Asian and Medieval India, I wrote it from that perspective. Similarly, in Modern India, though there are many books available in the market, but still, the student-friendly books are not, there's not a book which is catering to all this kind of aspects pertaining to UPSC. It has to be like student-friendly also to make the history interesting. Normally, students always treat history as like just a ratto maro subject, or it's a factual subject, just have to rote memorize it. But I always tell them that if and I'm really happy that students do write to me and they tell me that one big change they found after reading my books was that they really found history to be interesting. And I feel that history has to be presented in a way where it makes you understand it in a more comprehensive way. Secondly, to make it more student friendly, and also at the same time, the analytical part needs to be very much in thorough. So for example, like normally I always quote this thing that normally we always blame Mr. Jinnah to be a hardcore communalist and responsible for the partition of the country. But if you check out the history till 1920s, he was a hardcore Congress leader. And also he was not that much, he was a liberal communist till 1937. It was only after 1937 provincial elections defeat that he actually turned into a extremist communalist, because he felt that this, otherwise the politics, the Muslim politics has no future, or his political future is in dark. So not many people know it. And it's very important to understand the different stages of, let it be British conquest, let it be the history in any stage. So then only you can arrive at a justified and in a comprehensive conclusion. So let's say, like, if questions are being asked in the mains and also in prelims, they want that kind of in-depth understanding of the subject. So normally that is missing. Also, I would like to tell something about the book. That's, if you check out the book, there are so many quotes available in the book. So once you go through the quotes, so like such quotes, so they basically present you the vantage points related to. So for example, let's say if we talk about revolt of 1857, so normally all the British historians, most of them, almost 90% of them, they term it as a just a sepoy mutiny. And while all the nationalist historian, they always term it as a they always glorify it as a the first war of independence. Where is the reality? The reality is somewhere in between. So it was just more than a sepoy mutiny, but it was also just short of a first war of independence. So there are many reasons attributing to it, and that analysis has to be put into it. And the same vantage points, what were there, if you check out the quotes of different historians, you'll be able to appreciate and understand in a much better way. Also, another thing, one of the another USP of the book, if you check it out, are these mind maps. So basically, these are two detachable charts. In Asian people who have followed Asian and medieval India, they're very well aware of my this my this USP. So these are two charts basically in the book, where so every detail is that way. So here in this thing, you can see the history is delineated both vertically and horizontally. And you can just paste these charts on the wall, and once you complete the book, it's very quick, easy revision Rachner charts. And it's just 1 year. You can easily memorize the things, and all the important points are just jotted on these charts. So I think this is again another thing which I feel that the students must have, because I always felt that there should be something as a student myself. After reading all this, how can I just memorize quickly, just in 5 minutes before the prelims, or just 5 minutes before the mains? So I think this is the key. At the same time, I have written the book from a perspective of both a student and a teacher. So I feel that whatever the lacunas or the loopholes were there, the plug leakages were there in some way, so I have tried to plug them. So I feel that yes, my point is to make history more interesting. See, if we check out our childhood, we all remember our old that king queen stories till now. History is just like that only. You should know. You should be able to understand. We all remember our some of the memories of what happened, because it's all interesting. We don't have to memorize it in a factual way.
Yes, ma'am. And I think that for writing a book, like you said, that you had the vision of both teacher and student. I think that the curiosity of student accompanied by explanation of teacher will make that book a great thing to study. So wishing you all the luck, ma'am. And I hope more and more people study that book. And like you said, that you have that quick revision chart. I think that is very important. I mean, that if you are not fond of making notes of, or you, if even if you have made notes that take a lot of time, and if you have already that kind of a chart, then you can go through it every day, and then it will be an easy task for us to revise, or someone who is preparing for civil services to revise. So ma'am, my next question is that, as you said that you are very fond of history, and as you have named your son Vikramaditya, so how did this interest develop?
Okay, I think I would like to thank my history teacher for it, because I always believe that there are never bad students. It's only there's always a bad teacher. So it's like that, if so I specifically want to thank my school teachers and social sciences teachers of my school, who actually, developed that kind of interest. So they always presented history in a very interesting way. When they were talking about Mauryas, or let's say they were talking about Gupta's dynasties or Mughals for that matter. So they always presented that thing as a story, and that thing actually somehow stayed with me. And I really, everybody loves a good story. So I somehow felt that way that interest developed. Also, I always feel that, there's so much into history. If we have to, so it's like, culture wise, even economy wise, even polity wise, there's so much to learn from history, so that you can, in order to make your present better, and not and also for planning for your future, you need to, I think history provides the basics, the foundation. So I think that thing also somehow amazes me about history. Also, as I told you that, I'm fond of, this knowing about what happened, what was relevant, why this thing happened. So basically, if you check out history, you have to actually understand it in a very comprehensive way, then only you'll be able to appreciate. So the British conquest didn't started just with the Battle of Plassey. It started much beyond before that. So, you have to understand when Thomas Roe came first time to the court of Mughals, what was the structure over there. So I think that thing, that comprehensiveness of history, and also the ability of, this is the only subject where you can actually, where the things have already happened. So now you actually you can have the advantage of a perspective to go back into the time, and look at the things from all different kind of perspectives, and check it out that way. So I think that thing amazes me about history.
Again, ma'am, again, something from history only, because at times we find debates going on that history, why do we need to read history? Because why do we need to know about our past when we can always think about our future and move forward with it? So why do you think that we need to read history?
I think a person cannot progress. Even we cannot even plan for our present unless and until we know our history or our roots or our heritage. So we need to actually know from where we are coming from in order to understand ourselves, in order to understand our background. Even if you talk about international relations, we need to understand what have been the history of two countries over the years. So unless and until we have that kind of understanding of things, we cannot understand anything, I feel. So in order to understand our present, and in order to understand and also even plan for our future, we need to have the basic understanding of our history, from where we are coming from, and also we need to, move ahead from the mistakes we all have committed in the history, that for that matter, so that we can have a bright future and a bright present. We shouldn't repeat those kind of mistakes. There are a hell lot of things. So now world is talking about peace, harmony. I think, if we check out Buddhism, or if we check about Ashoka the Great, I think all these things have already been, so many years back, all these things have been there. Now, sometimes I wonder, if we check about if we check out the Indus Valley civilization, the kind of, if we check out that the town structure these people were having so much years back, I think we when we are planning our cities, we need to understand that, that 90-degree streets were cut at the right angles, and all this kind of thing. So I feel that there's so much for us to learn from history, to make our present better.
Yes, ma'am. And I also think the same way, because without knowing who we were in the past, we cannot proceed in future. And especially for somewhere like thriving civilization like us, like we always have that civilization memory. For example, I'd like to state that this in Vastu Shastra, we always have this concept of length being it is bigger than the breadth by 25%, that is one fourth, that is called sawa. So, and when someone like Aurangzeb also came, and when he had to rename his vassal Mansingh, he gave him the title of Savai. So like we know that Savai Mansingh. So that kind of civilization memory we have been carrying forward, and this is because we have been reading our history. So history is very important, as you said, ma'am. And I'd like to end by the last question. And as I started with civil services, I'll end it with civil services only. That how do you think that civil services preparation help you in life? Because a lot of aspirants are there preparing, and not everyone gets success, but there is lot more than getting success in that exam. There is more to it, and that is about preparation. So what you have to give advice to those aspirants?
I'm really glad that you asked this question because this is such a relevant question, and normally, when not many people actually want to talk about it. Now, we always have a quote that success has many fathers, failures have none. So, but at the same time, we need to understand, especially specifically for UPSC. I know hell lot of friends of mine who were more talented, more intelligent. I can still vouch for them, and the more hardworking than me, and still they couldn't qualify the exam. So I feel that I was more lucky in that way. So also, having said that, doesn't mean that hard work is not accounted for, but at the same time, luck do plays a factor. And also, you should thank your stars if you are in the services, but at the same time, please do not be arrogant about it, because there are many more people who are not in the services. At the same time, I also want to highlight another key point. I always say that it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. So, once you come into civil services, you really get that kind of important portfolio. You are, able to uh, plan for a district in a different way, and you are able to do so many things. You can provide service to so many people, but at the same time, you need to understand that if you're not even in the services, still you can bring a change in the society in a much better way also. If you there are many people who have left civil services and have brought positive change in the society. So having said that, doesn't I don't want to demotivate anybody who is preparing for civil services. It is definitely one of the challenging journey, but trust me, it is one of the most beautiful and insightful journey, because anybody who has ever prepared for UPSC knows about hell lot amount of things than a normal folk would be. So you can easily check out if somebody has even while preparing for this exam. You get to know so many things about Indian polity, about Indian economy, or geography, or environment. Any aspect, international relations. You read newspaper in a very different way. You follow the news in a very different way. So I think it totally changes you as a person. It definitely brings so many positive aspects to your personality. It also somehow inculcates in you a spirit of hard work, and also at the same time a spirit of compassion and empathy, because you're able to, and also a comprehensiveness and a holistic ness in your attitude and your personality. So I feel that even being on this journey, sometimes we say that not don't always worry for the destination, enjoy the journey. So I always feel that please enjoy this journey, and at the same time, I do hope and pray that all of you who are actually watching this show do succeed in whatever arena you want to succeed. Having said that, but still, please don't lose heart, because this life is just much more than this examinations. So I think life is itself is a much wider exam, or a much wider canvas than just and UPSC is just one part of it. So if you are able to succeed in it, it's really good. If you are not able to, I think you can still achieve your dreams, and fulfill your need of serving the society in so many different ways. So I think each one of us can contribute in our own unique way, and that's what is required.
Yes, ma'am. I think I just got in my mind that a quote of Harivansh Rai Bachchan, which he told to his son Amitabh Bachchan, that मन का हो तो अच्छा, मन का ना हो तो ज्यादा अच्छा. So at times we will not be getting what we have thought to get, but sometimes destiny might have planned something different which might be bigger than that. So we should not lose hope, and we should always keep moving forward. So on that note, ma'am, thank you for giving us your valuable time, and it was really an enriching session for me also. And listening to your journey, I've read about your journey, but listening it from you, it was really inspiring. And I think it will also inspire the viewers who watch this interview of yours. And thank you once again, ma'am, and namaste.
Thank you so much for having me here, and it was a pleasure to have you. To you have me over over your platform, and I would love to thank everybody who has just watched it, and thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.